Good afternoon. We are back at Northey on a lovely sunny late September's day. This is my first trip of the autumn and I've just returned for an amazing few days in Greece. My first trip outside of the UK since 2019, and yeah, it was a very welcome break. I've worked hard this summer, so it was nice just to switch off and recharge for a few days. So I've got a couple of days left of my holiday, so returned the early hours of this morning, got a few hours sleep, sorted the van out and got on the road. So the lake is very, very quiet. There is only two chaps on, one tucked away in a little corner, one down the far end on the other side. I've just done a whole lap of the lake. I've parked behind Middles and not seen a great deal in front of the swim, but to the right, the channel through to Elliott's, there's a lot of fish sitting in front of there. And although the obvious option would probably be to go in Elliott's, from my observations this year, not a lot's been caught out of there, and I feel like it's an area that the fish sort of sit in, but they're not really feeding in that area. Whereas Middle's just round the corner has been the hottest swim of the year, lots of fish coming out of it. And based on my last trip, as I mentioned, went round, trickled a few baits into the swim in the idea of maybe moving in there the next day. Unfortunately, someone beat me to it and he ended up catching two of the originals, so I got it wrong that trip. I should have moved in there when I could, but I held out for a day and it didn't pay off, so that's fishing for you. But I've just done a whole lap of the lake. Quite a few of the same fish from my last trip are sitting in the same area. So down that far end of the lake, craters down there, fish called Georges. They're just sort of sitting in a pocket of water where the lake is so shallow due to the summer. They're kind of sitting in this safe little pocket there. And for me, I just don't feel there's the right opportunity to present to those fish. A couple of the lads have been fishing a little corner swim down there, and I'd rather just leave them to it. So it's going to be a while before the water level starts coming up, and then that's going to change things. You know, the other areas of the lake will have a bigger impact, but at the minute it feels very swimmy because I think the fish can only sort of sit comfortably in a few areas. I've walked all along the far bank and I've only seen one fish, a fish which I believe is called Bonnie, in front of Boise's, but yeah, a lot of the fish are on this side of the lake, and you know, my confidence in Middles, although I've only done a couple of nights in there, is very high. So I think that will be where I will be starting. Obviously I'm absolutely shattered, so I'm going to get the rods out and yeah, kick back and enjoy a couple of nights. I think the weather's set to be pretty good. It's lovely and sunny now, so yeah, just going to enjoy the trip, and hopefully we will see a couple more Northey carp. We have got our first fish of the autumn. I was just sort of dozing off, in and out of sleep, didn't sleep that great, and the middle rods absolutely burst off. And we've got another stockfish, really heavily scaled mirror, looks a really pretty one. So yeah, get sorted and get him out. Result. Here we go then, first fish of the autumn. Lovely start to the trip. Another stocky, but I'm just happy to be getting the bites, as I'm sure those older fish are going to turn up. And there's lots of different fish in this, so you just don't know what you're going to get. Look at that. Another cracking example of the future of Northey. These fish are already growing really fast, so give them another few years. I think these are going to be some nice big fish. As unfortunately the lake with old carp, you're going to lose a few over the years, so great to see these young ones coming through. Rod's back out there. There's definitely a few fish milling about, so I'm pretty confident of another bite, if not today, going into tomorrow. I think I'll be staying put, because it definitely feels good in this zone. Lovely. Well, we're moving into the evening now. Not a lot really occurred after that fish. I see a couple of fish milling about, and I thought maybe there was a chance for another bite, but it didn't materialise into anything. So I see it out until lunchtime. I needed to pop up the shop and grab some bits, and when I come back I had a walk around, and from what I could see there was no one else on the lake. So one thing I am really loving about this place is you've got your own bit of water, and you're not overly aware of what's going on around you, which obviously in a fishing scenario isn't great unless you know you're on the fish and you know you're sitting there confidently. But there is also that element of, you know, feeling like you might be missing something around the pond. But I love being tucked away. That's always been my favourite type of fishing. You know, if I can sit tucked away in a little corner or a spit somewhere that, you know, I'm less likely to be bothered, that's, you know, where I'm happiest fishing. So I'm really enjoying that side of it over here. And, you know, this swim, really, you've kind of got a section of the lake to yourself, and other than the two sort of windows that give you a view of the main lake, you're not really aware what's going on around you. So from what I could see, I couldn't see anybody else on the lake. See a couple of the same fish sitting down that end again, not as many as there were yesterday. And yeah, I mean, the weather's changed a little bit. There's quite a strong wind blowing down the lake. I think we're sort of getting a little bit of the tail end of the storms that have been going on around the world elsewhere, and the weather's definitely changed a bit. But I've seen quite a few fish this afternoon. The rods have gone out nice and sort of quietly. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident actually. I've just noticed that there is a guy on the lake. I've just seen him out on the boat and in the middle out there. So there's definitely someone else here. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident. So I'm just hoping the next bite is one of the big ones. So yeah, we'll see. Fingers crossed. What about this? I felt like I was due one of the big ones, and we got one. Those little melted fins. Awesome carp. Let's get it up and show you. Right then, not the fish I originally thought it was. I actually thought it was much bigger than it was. It looks huge in the net. I think it's early riser, which has been £44, but it's 33.4. A wicked carp nonetheless, and a very, very angry one. Look at him. What a corker. Little melted fins. Ball-like head. Fought like a train. One I dearly wanted, so what a result. Not ideal light. All ground for photos, but there he is. Awesome. Felt due one of the good ones, and we got one. Let's get some snaps. Good morning. A lovely autumnal morning over here. Not too cold, a little bit of damp in the air, but yeah, lovely clear skies last night. It was a really nice night to be out fishing. Got a bit of a clearer head this morning, and yeah, gone through the photos, and the fish that I had was actually a fish called nuggets. So the fish that I thought clover was. It's funny this lake, because there's so many different fish in here, it's quite easy to misplace one, and then I'm sure once you know them all, you know, it's quite obvious. But that fish, I didn't actually have many photos of it saved, and it's literally like a mini cannon, a mini version of the big one basically. And yeah, in the net I see the length of it and the funny shaped dorsal, when I was certain it was the big one until I picked it up and put it on the scales. And then I thought it was a fish called early riser, and then I thought it was a fish called Luxie, and then once I actually, you know, got the picture off the camera and looked on my phone, I realised it was a fish called nuggets. So I think that's been about 36 before, just under 36. So a really cool one though. It's part of that sort of pod of fish. Like I say, it looks very similar to cannon. There's a fish called tea and biscuits. They're all sort of quite similar, you know, real long fish with a big head and those little fins. So yeah, made up with that one. I didn't get the most amazing shots and footage of it. This swim's really difficult. There's a lot of hard, uneven ground in here, and obviously night shots aren't easy at the best of times, and it wasn't happy at all. So yeah, not the best shots, but is what it is. No morning take so far. I'm just sitting having a coffee now, and there's definitely a couple of fish milling about, so I'm hopeful that in the next little while we get another chance. But I'm gonna have this coffee and yeah, make some breakfast I think, and yeah, enjoy the morning. Well, the morning bite never came, so packed up, gonna go and chuck all this in there. The weights are still really low, so they certainly need some feed. Just going to introduce it all across the swim rather than on spots. Yeah, try and get them building those weights back up. We are back at Northey. It's Friday and it's the last day of September. So I've got down a little bit earlier again, and I've really tried to, you know, make this time happen over these last few weeks, and always think this time of year you've got to really try and find another gear, whether that's taking a few days off holiday or, you know, just trying to get them jobs to work that you can get away a bit earlier, because you've got to try and be one step ahead. And you know, this time of year, turning up late in the dark, you know, everybody else is up for it and you're going to struggle. So I mean, it's starting to get harder as it is. So yeah, I've turned up. There's two people here, one in Middles and the same chap down in that corner. So there's nobody else on the lake. I'm in a bit of a dilemma. I've seen 3 fish, a koi and a little one down in the car park, which is deep water in that area. And I've just seen another one milling about down in Last Stop. So we're due a lot of rain tonight, or very soon. We've got quite strong northerly winds. So I've chucked a bucket in Boise's. I've not seen anything in there, but based on, you know, the fact I caught a couple in there, the weather, I feel like that's the one. You know, I'd be more confident in there than I would be going down into Last Stop, a swim that I've not fished before. Yeah, so I don't know, I'm gonna have another walk round. I've looked in all the nooks and crannies and I ain't seen a lot, which that tells me that they're out in the middle of the pond. So my thinking is, you know, if I can get in Boise's, get a couple of rods out in that middle and give them some grub. So, and then tomorrow I think the sun's coming back out, and then we'll see. There may be a chance of a move, so yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it's looking like Boise's for now. So yeah, I'm gonna get sorted before this rain turns up. We're all sorted. I cannot believe this weather change. I'm all wrapped up like it's winter. I've got my boots on, waterproof, because I think this rain is coming very soon. The wind is picking up faster and faster. But yeah, I mean, all this week, heading to work, the temperatures have been real low. I mean, it's early for how cold it's sort of gone, but I think the temperatures are meant to start creeping up. We desperately need the rain, but yeah, I think it's coming soon. So I'm going to go with my gut and go in Boise's. I've not seen anything in there, but I've had a good walk round. I've took my time. I've found a nice linear feeding down the other end in peg 1. There was a load of bait in a corner there, and that one was munching away. I see the 2 that I said in Car Park, and I see the 1 in Last Stop, but for me, I feel like Boise's is the one. I may regret it, but barrow's loaded. I'm gonna head round there now, get the brolly up quick, like I say, get sorted and hope for the best. I'm yeah, quite hopeful for this trip. I feel like some of them big fish are really due out. My confidence is really high, so yeah, looking forward to getting sorted and getting the rods out. How about this? 1st of October. We've got another old one. I've got no idea what this fish is. 27.4. Yeah, don't know what one is. Lovely carp. Nice leathery one. A few nice scales down here. First light soon, so I'm just going to stick him in the edge for a little while. Get the camera kit sorted. And get him up and show you. What a buzz though. From the left hand spot, the spot I've persevered with, not actually caught anything from, so really happy to get one from there. So yeah, I will get him up and show you shortly. Well, here we go, 1st day of October. What a way to start it. A month that's always been kind to me. Had some of my best fish in October. We've made a good start, so Went through the photos after putting the fish in the sling. It turns out this fish is known as George's. So a fish that I've been watching, I was led to believe was George's, but it's not. It's this one. It's got a very distinctive black mark on the side of it. I'm not sure how old this fish is. It is a lovely one. Very leathery flanks, lovely colours, nice proportions. Yeah, a wicked carp. So really happy to get one off that left hand spot, because I've persevered with it, gone out in the boat, and it's just a nice area, so I've kept going with it and it's come good. And the rod ripped off and this one was on the end. I really thought I'd lost it. It was quite tricky in the dark, and I was having to net it between some reeds, and I'd slipped the net under it, or so I'd thought, and I could see the clip and the rig, and I thought, oh no, I've bumped it off. And then as I'd sort of lifted the net up, I see the fish was inside it safely. So yeah, what a start to the trip. Nothing else has happened yet this morning. Swans are currently diving on me, so I only decided to fish 2 rods in the swim, and I've not seen a great deal yet, but the swans spooked 2 fish out in the middle, so I'm really hoping that middle rod busts off, and then I think I'll be staying put. But we're due a nice sunny warm day today, which is quite a change from what we've had. So yeah, we'll see what options are available. But yeah, for the moment, absolutely chuffed soaking this one in. 3 of the proper ones, my last 3 trips. I couldn't ask for better than that. So yeah, what a buzz. Just coming up to 2 in the afternoon, and I'm actually going to move, so it's a little bit of a gamble. I'm going to move into Carp. Basically I was just going back to the van to get some bits, and I just crept through this little poke hole, and I've just seen this mothership come in, and it's the biggest common in the lake, a fish called the cover common. It's not been caught since last September. A lot of people have been saying to me how due it is. A lot of people thought it was going to come out on that full moon that I fished, and it's yet to turn up, and it looks really big. So it's a little bit of a gamble. I'm only going to fish the 1 rod. It was there with another fish, and as I said to you yesterday, I see 2 fish in there, a koi and a smaller one. And I've just seen the koi with another fish. Whether it's the same one, I'm not sure. I just kind of want a bit of a change of scenery. I'm yet to fish that swim. I did actually chuck a bucket of bait in there about 2 weeks ago, my trip before last, basically because I couldn't put it anywhere else. So I know that they've had a little bit of my bait down there, and I just feel like it's not going to happen now in Boise. Obviously I caught that fish this morning, which was amazing, but I've done 5 nights in that swim, and that's the first fish I've had off that spot. So I know that it's not a spot that's going to do fish after fish. And other than those 2 fish that spooked from the swan, I've seen 1 more fish out in the middle, and it's quite a way left from where I am. So I think if I was going to get one in the middle, I would have got one. So I'm going to take a punt, because I feel like if I wake up tomorrow and I've not had anything, I'll regret it. So yeah, I'm not fishing below the fish down there. I know there ain't many down there, but there's a big wind blowing down the lake, and I don't feel that the rod I've got in the middle is presenting as well as it should be. The spot's too soft to put a bigger lead on, so I'm going as heavy as I can, but with the tips high and the line high, I just feel that my presentation could be hindered. So I'm not sitting there overly confident behind those 2 rods, whereas down here I'm on the end of the wind, but I'm sheltered, so I know I can present that 1 rod perfectly. Just set a nice little trap there. I've already got the clip for the spot, So I'm just literally going to clip a little lead on one cast, polt a few baits down there and sit back quietly. And yeah, who knows, something special might happen. So yeah, I'm going to go and grab the kit now. What a contrasting weather. It's like a summer's day today. Strange how it can just change. All those winds and the rain. Wouldn't even know now. Well, that's the first weekend of October over. Unfortunately, my gamble didn't pay off. Nothing came my way. Quite a quiet night. That wind dropped right off considering. There was a bit of activity out there this morning. I can't be certain if they were carp. I didn't see any carp for definite, but there was definitely a bit of bubbling, a bit of movement in the reeds. But there are so many silverfish in this lake, it's untrue. And sometimes those sort of pinprick bubbles, I'm certain are nuisance fish. So just giving them a couple of buckets of bait. And without a doubt, their weights are down. They're looking for food. You know, I'm catching them over quite big quantities of bait. Really simple sort of boilie fish, you know. I find I always end up this time of year just favouring that sort of simple boilie approach. It's just nice, simple fishing, and they just seem to tune into it. So yeah, I'm obviously really pleased to have had 3 of the real good ones in 3 trips. My confidence is sky high, you know, coming off the back of losing a few fish. I feel like the changes I've made, and yeah, I'm really feeling it. So the winter syndicate starts November, I think, so I plan really to fish it hard till November. I don't know how it will be fishing by then. I've got every weekend of October apart from one, so yeah, as you can imagine, you know, I'm feeling really confident that one of these, you know, the proper A team could turn up. So just got to keep going. I'm in a good routine, confident in my approach, and yeah, just got to keep it going. So yeah, already looking forward to getting back, so I'll catch up with you then. It's Friday, I'm back down at Northey, and this is my last holiday trip, if you like. I've taken the day off work. As I mentioned, I felt like I needed to find an extra gear these last few weeks. After a long period off this summer, I felt like I was playing catch up and I needed to get in tune with the lake and find out as much about it as possible. So I've been getting down a little bit earlier on the Fridays, just trying to get ahead, because when you feel like you're playing catch up, it can feel like you're chasing your tail, and I know it's not always easy to find that time, and it takes a bit of sacrifice, and I can only do it for so long, and then you start paying the price. So that's where I'm at now. So moving into the future, I'm just going to be turning up after work on the Friday. We're in October now, so I'm going to be arriving in the dark. It's not the best place for that because you're fishing over weed, the spots are quite small, so line lays of big importance, but I felt like I needed to do this time to build that confidence to turn up and feel comfortable doing that. So my main focus is October really. The winter syndicate starts in November, and I just don't know what impact that's going to have. A lot of the lakes unfishable as such, or not as fishable as it normally would be, so therefore there's a lot less areas that are accessible, and I don't want to be turning up feeling like I'm wasting my time. I've got access to some good winter fishing at home, so once I'm coming up here feeling like it's not worth it, I'm not going to keep going. I've done it at Raisbury last year and I'm not willing to do it again, so that's where I'm at. I've turned up this morning at first light, which was really nice, beat the traffic, lovely sunrise. Middles was free, so I parked behind that and just thought I'm going to take my time, have a nice slow walk round. There's one guy in Boise's, the wind is hacking down the lake exactly like it was last time, so immediately I thought Middles is going to be sheltered, it's a good choice. But wanted to have a look around, found a few fish in Carp again, milling about in that same little corner, but for me, I just feel like the opportunities down there are 1-2 rod opportunities. It's quite hit and hold fishing, whereas in here, I've got 3 rods that I'm confident of a chance on. I feel I'm very likely to land the fish from here. A lot of the big fish are due now, and I just feel this is the area they're going to come from. As you can imagine, I'm fishing really confidently, and I feel close, so I'm going to try and get in it as of when I can. You know, I will fish those areas if I can't get in this zone, as I did last week. So made the decision to come down here. I've changed a couple of things. I've moved the left-hand rod just slightly. I've actually moved the right-hand rod completely. And yeah, I'm sitting here quietly confident. It's quite blustery, so I'm having that same issue with the lines and the high tips, but I've got nice heavy bobbins on, and I've got the heaviest leads that I can get away with, really. So yeah, I'm feeling confident. It's not fished great these last couple of weeks. I actually feel quite lucky to have pinched that fish last weekend, but we'll see how things go. I think we're due a bit of rain this afternoon. So yeah, I'm just going to kick back and enjoy, and yeah, I'll keep you updated as the session goes on. Quick update. It's a beautiful autumnal day. It was quite chilly this morning, and it didn't happen. It's the first night I've done in middles where I've had no action whatsoever. So that's telling me the lake's starting to slow down now. I knew it would. These shallow lakes, they seem to switch off really early. I did see fish in front of me, just sort of milling about. No obvious signs on the spot, so I kind of feel I should have caught one, but at the same time, if you're not seeing real sort of feeding activity on the spots, it's hard to say. So I've reeled in. I'm just gonna have a walk around now. It's beautiful and sunny. See if I can see anything. I think there was a few on last night. As I said, you can't really see a lot else in middles, so I know there was someone to my right in Elliot's, which doesn't always help you. He's gone now. So yeah, I think I'll be staying put, but I did put quite a bit of bait out last night, as we seem to do this time of year. The weights are very low in here still, but I know someone else fished in the swim in the week, and for all I know, he might have put a bit of bait out when he left. There wasn't really any obvious signs. There weren't birds diving or anything like that, so I didn't mind putting a bit of bait out, but I think going into tonight, I'll just be keeping it pretty minimal. So yeah, see if I can find anything. I've got to pop to the shop as I've forgotten something, which I seem to keep doing here. At Raysbury, I was always super organised because it wasn't the easiest place to go out and get bits, whereas here, you've got Sainsbury's up the road, you've got McDonald's around the corner. So if you forget anything, at least you've got them to fall back on. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy this sunshine because it was quite chilly this morning. So yeah, feeling the warmth of the sun feels pretty nice. So the clarity is really good, so it's quite easy to spot things at the minute. So yeah, see if I can find anything and then get back and get the rods out in a little while. Good morning. It is a very fresh morning, and I'm happy to say we have got one. The night before the full moon produced, a wicked night. It was so bright. Yeah, eventually a rod ripped off, and yeah, you might recognise this one. Just got it down in the edge, had it just before first light, so I'm gonna get him up and show you. Clover's paid us another visit. A little bit bigger this time, £30.12. I just thought I'd show you the other side. She certainly didn't look her best when I last caught her. Definitely looking a little bit better now, more in colour, a little bit fuller. Just got this one little wound on this side, so yeah, a little bit disappointed to get a repeat, but that's fishing for you. They're low in weight, they're trying to get back up there. So yeah, this is my 10th carp from Northey this year landed, so really happy with that. That was sort of my goal, 10 to 15 fish if I was lucky. So there's definitely a couple of fish still out there this morning. I've got the rod back out, no drama. The swan's just spooked off the fish and I'll just sit another one and show. So get this old girl back. Yeah, fingers crossed, might be a chance of one more bite. Result. The trip's come to a close, and that second bite never came. Funny trip really. I sort of feel like I should have had another fish, but at the same time I feel lucky to have had a fish. There's a few things I can take from that bite, despite it being a repeat, from a new spot in that swim. So That's a bite off 3 different spots in there. I actually made a slight change to hook bait, which wasn't planned. I actually sorted some bits out in me bits and bobs bucket, and didn't realise that I'd basically taken out the hook baits I had been using and put something else in there. So luckily I had a backup plan and they ended up going out, and I'm just glad that I landed that fish. The repeats aren't ideal, but because I had to go out in the boat, had I lost that fish on the full moon, I probably would have said to myself, oh, I've lost a real good one. So I'm glad I landed it. Just one of those things. I think it's going to be one of those lakes where some of these older fish are a little bit more friendly than others, and then some of the other ones only come out once, maybe twice a year. So they're the ones obviously you really want to get through to. So time will tell. I've just chucked another couple of buckets of bait in. It's weird. It is really weird. I mean, I knew it would switch off early over here, but it does seem to have gone quiet pretty quickly. I've just put some bait in a couple of little hidey holes where I've been seeing fish, and yeah, hopefully they'll get in on there. So it's a little bit of deeper water. That's sort of what I'm looking for, because the swans are pretty much getting to everything. I feel like I'm almost wasting my time putting bait in, so just looking for those deeper areas where hopefully the fish have got half a chance of finding it. So yeah, good trip. Feel like I should have caught another one, but just glad to have got one. That's the thing with this time of year, you can just keep getting the bites. That's the main thing. So back next week, see how we get on. So I'll catch up with you then. We are back a lot earlier than I'd planned. I managed to get my job finished much earlier than I thought I would. As I said, I thought I'd be arriving in the dark pretty much every trip now, but you've got to make the most of those windows. So yeah, I've shot down here straight away. Middles is free, so I've had a look in front and I've seen a fish straight away, and I've gone out on the bridge, I've seen another fish across. So there's definitely fish in the zone, which is a huge boost of confidence. I mean, my confidence is already sky high in that swim. But yeah, I'm going to make my way round now, see what I can see. The wind's dropped right off and the visibility is really good, so I'm going to see what I can find. But yeah, I've been gagging to get back. It's just when you're on it and things are going your way, you've got to really run with it. And I'm not here next weekend, which is one of those things, but yeah, you can't be here all the time. But I do feel close, so I've just got to keep pushing. I can tell things are changing now. Like with each drive up, you can really see the colour change on the trees, and yeah, things are changing now. So I know that the window is getting smaller and smaller, so just got to keep pushing and hope for the best. But yeah, I'm going to make my way around now, see what I can find. But at the minute, it's looking like middles. So I'll catch up with you in a little while. There's a lot of fish sitting in front of Elliot's. Another one down there. Spotted a big fish sitting in the channel just out there, so really encouraging signs. I've seen more fish in 10 minutes of being here than I did all the last weekend, so it's got to be a good sign. It feels nice and mild, and yeah, whenever there's been fish sitting in this pocket of water is when I've done well in middles, so really good signs, and there's some good fish out there. So yeah, I think middles is the right choice. I don't know how well you can see them 3 fish, but they are all 3 mid-30s, mid to upper 30s. Boise's, Crater and Early Riser, clear as day in front of me. Unbelievable. Just come through this weed here. The importance of glasses. I just wouldn't have even seen those fish without these. There's too much glare on the water. It looks very silver, as you can see through the camera. They've just ghosted through from under that weed. This is actually the area that I chucked a load of bait last week. So yeah, bit of a dilemma now. That's definitely made me think slightly differently, but yeah, unbelievable to see. Another 2 fish joined those 3, and I'm going to try not let it influence me too much. I sat and watched them and they go through in front, and Boise sort of flanked in front of me, but those few fish have been sitting in that area since sort of late summer. I've been seeing those same ones there, and I don't know if they're just sort of sitting there because it's a little bit more unpressured, I don't know, but I'm going to try not let it interfere too much, because like I say, they sort of swam back round and they headed out towards the main lake. And then other than that, I've only seen one stockfish off by the footbridge there, so I don't feel like there's loads of fish down there. They were just good uns, so it's hard to ignore, but it's a really good sign. Like that area, as I say, I chucked a little bit of bait in there. There's a couple of sort of deep pockets of water, so I'm just going to keep my eye on it. I know there's winter or sort of late autumn into winter form down there, and I know putting bait on there, the swans aren't going to get it, so I'm just going to keep trickling a bit there and keep my eye on it. I would go back and put some bait on it now, but it's a Friday night and I don't want people seeing bait on the spot. And also, if the fish do turn up and have a feed on there, I don't want people turning up and finding that. So yeah, just going to leave it alone until Sunday, and hopefully I can trickle a bit more on there and keep my eye on it. But a really positive sign for the future, that's for sure, and great to see. So just making my way around now to the last few swims, but it does feel really good. It's just got, I don't know, a bit more of a buzz than last week. It felt a little bit chilly and just a bit still last week, and without a doubt, like each swim I walk into, it just feels a bit more positive and just looks better, and the fish are definitely more active than last week, so really good sign. I'm excited to get the rods out, so yeah, going to check out these last couple of swims, go and get sorted. Well, what a start to the day. Unbelievable. Woke up this morning feeling pretty uninspired, really. Looking out there, it just didn't feel on. It looked great, but see very little out there. Normally there's a little bit of movement in the reeds and just signs, and this morning I just didn't see it. It was a bit of rain, and I was thinking to myself, oh, I've made the wrong choice, you know, maybe I should have gone and fished in that area I see him yesterday. I was on the phone to Soph on the way to work, and literally the middle rod has just busted off out of nowhere. I didn't have a bite off the middle rod last week. The bite come off the right hand zone. Had a really tense battle. The fish really held sort of out there. Eventually got it in front, and I could see it was a good fish, and to be honest, I actually thought it was the big one, but it's not. I'm pretty certain it's tea and biscuits, which is really one of the ones I really wanted. It's like a much scalier version than the big one, and it looks big, so I'm gonna get sorted and get it out. I'm absolutely buzzing. What a result. Wow. Look at this. Well, we've got what I come to Northey for, one of these super special mirrors, and I'm blown away by this one. Really is an awesome creature. Hopefully it plays ball. It gave me a hell of a ruck, but this one was in my top 3 ones I wanted. The sun's just come out now, but wow, what a special carp. Fish known as tea and biscuits, 37.4, and this has made my season. You know, I've really worked hard these last few weeks. I've kept myself to myself, just got on with my fishing, fished around the pond and fished hard, and I knew I was close to getting one of the real A team of the lake, and wow, up there as one of my best captures, I think. What a beautiful carp. I love October. When you get things right, it just, yeah, an amazing time of year. Yeah, and after missing that summer period, I'm so happy to have got the fishing I've got, and you know, I couldn't have asked for better for the ones that I've landed. So yeah, what an amazing old carp. Absolutely buzzed. Awesome. Wow. Back you go, old girl. Thank you very much. Made me a very happy man. I'm just making my way around the lake now. As you can imagine, I'm on cloud 9. Really, really happy with that one. And considering I woke up this morning, I really didn't think it was going to happen. Yeah, it just blew me away, that carp. A shame really, because the light started coming through, and the footage and photos I got weren't amazing, but it is what it is. You know, that fish, for me, that they are the reason that I came to Northey. just special old mirrors, and we haven't got a lot of fish like that anymore, and especially at home in Essex, you know, we've got a lot of big commons, but in terms of big mirrors, there aren't loads of them around. So for me, that is exactly why I came here. So yeah, like I said, that was right at the top of my list, that one. So yeah, made up with him. So yeah, I'm in a bit of a dilemma now, because as I said, I didn't really see a lot this morning that was particularly encouraging. I'm just making my way around the lake now, and it just feels a little bit different to yesterday. There's a bit more of a chop on the water, and it's difficult to really see anything. I found a couple of small stockies down the other end where I see those fish yesterday, but it's quite difficult to spot anything. But yeah, I'm just gonna really take my time and walk around, and if I think a move's worth it, then I will. But the one thing I am really enjoying, and something that I think is really important with this time of year, is the lake is changing, and you really notice things more this time of year. Just little nooks and little hiding spots that you might not have noticed in the summer when all the sort of the bushes and what have you were a bit higher. Yet this time of year, sometimes you spot something, you think, oh, how did I miss that? So the more you can sort of bank those things and dial into the lakes, you're just tuning yourself in more and more. And you know, even if you don't fish the winter, when you come back in the spring, already you've got that in your head, like, this is my route, I'll check out that area, and you already know where you're looking, and I think it just puts you one step ahead. And as I say, you know, in the summer months, you can miss those things. And I remember when I went to Raysbury last winter, because I hadn't been able to do the winter before because of COVID and the lockdown, I couldn't believe how different the lake looked and how different some of the areas looked, because in the summer months you couldn't see those areas. So I definitely think it's an important thing, is to just try and walk the lake that bit harder as you move into this period of the year, because there's definitely little bits that you might have missed, and it's definitely worth banking those. So yeah, I'm just on the back bank now, so going to head round. I think I'm actually the only one here, amazingly. You know, the weather is, you couldn't ask for better for October. It's so mild, so yeah, can't believe it. But yeah, I'll catch up with you in a little while, and there may be a move on the cars, but we'll see. It's hard to want to move out of Middles when my confidence is so high there, and I just feel like there's fish creeping in there. It's difficult. It's one of them swims where you might not see loads of signs, and then the rod busts off, you know, so they're obviously getting in there on a regular basis, and they obviously want to feed in there. So that's the thing that's drawing me in, because a lot of these other swims that I'm seeing fish, yes, they're getting in there, but some of these swims now haven't produced for quite a few weeks. So I just wonder, you know, are they not really feeding in those zones? So yeah, it's difficult. So I'm sure I'll make my decision soon though. Well, the session's drawn to a close now. Quite an early pack up for me. I'm just not really feeling it. I'm ready to go home now. As I said, I've fished pretty hard these last few weeks, and yeah, I'm looking forward to just a couple of weeks chilling at home and yeah, catching up again, I guess. So yeah, I should have moved. I definitely should have moved. My stubbornness got the better of me, I think. I put the rods out quite late last night. I come back to the swim, had some lunch, and I just thought I'd leave the lines out of the water for as long as possible. And as I was clipping the rods up, I see a fish over the top of the spot, and I sort of thought, oh, there's fish back in the zone. But I thought I'm going to go and have another walk round, walk down the other end, and the wind was blowing down there. And I did find a few fish, and looking at it now, I think I probably should have moved when I had the opportunity to. But I come back, stayed put. And to be honest, I've seen more activity this morning. I've definitely seen more fish than I did yesterday. But yeah, I think I should have took the gamble and moved yesterday. But that's fishing for you. It's easy to say when you wake up and you've blanked, you know. So obviously had a really good trip. I'm over the moon with that carp. I mean, what a round up to the last few weeks. I felt like I was building towards one of those good ones, and yeah, now I've got one. I feel really satisfied with this period of angling, and you know, I know realistically that could be my last carp from here this year. So I've probably got, I was thinking about it yesterday, even if I fish through November, I've probably only got 2 to 3 trips left now. As I said, I'm not here next weekend. I'm here that last weekend, the Halloween weekend, the first week of November, but that's when the winter syndicate starts, and if it is really busy, then I probably won't bother. I know I can't do the weekend after that, so that following weekend will probably be my last one. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird feeling knowing I'm not coming back next week. When you get in that rhythm, you just, yeah, you want to stay on the ball, but yeah, you can't do it all the time. So I am tempted to get down here for a baiting trip, but we'll see. So yeah, obviously a really, really good trip. I'm going home really happy, and yeah, like I say, I need a couple of week break, just a bit of a recharge, and yeah, I'll be back ready for more in a couple of weeks' time. So I will catch up with you then. Right, we are back at Northey. It's the last weekend of October, this freakishly mild October that we're having. I can't actually believe how warm it still is. So I got down with probably an hour of light left, and the wind was blowing down the lake. There was a couple of guys on, so middles was taken, so that choice wasn't there. And down in the shallow end, I didn't really see anything down there. I thought I might find some fish based on my last trip, and didn't see a lot down there. As I say, with the light disappearing, the visibility wasn't great, but there was no obvious signs. So I had another look in Elliott's in the centre, and I'd seen fish there on my last trip, and I kind of fancied fishing somewhere new. So I made a decision to go in there, and you can bring your van behind that swim. So I started getting some bits out, got the leading rod out, and I see a fish in front straight away. And I had a rough idea of the areas there from going out in the boat, and they felt okay, not amazing, but they were presentable. Whilst I was leading, I see a fish bosh opposite in Boise's, bang on the spot that I fish, and I thought I've got to act on that, you know. So got the bits back in the van, drove around the lake and got into the swim. I've got the rods out. It was dark really when the rods went out, not ideal. Had I sort of gone in here first, they would have gone out in the light, but I've heard a couple of fish since out there, and yeah, I mean, that's all I can do. So hopefully they've gone out okay in the dark. I've got a little bit of bait out there, and there's definitely some fish about. So yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens tonight, and you know, if nothing occurs, then I'll be on the move and seeing what I can find. So for now, I'm going to make some dinner though. It's been a long day. I'm absolutely starving. So yeah, fingers crossed one turns up. Right, we have one. Absolutely buzzing with this capture. Made that effort this evening worth it. You know, I could have easily ignored that show and thought to myself, well, I'll get the rods out in the light if I stay in Elliott's, but this is the importance I was saying of getting in tune with that lake, so that the thought of setting up in the dark or moving in the dark doesn't feel so daunting. We've got the reward. A young fish, I think. Very lively. It's a common. I'm not sure if it's one of the ones I've already had. Just over 21 £, but as I say, a really rewarding capture after making that move that I could have so easily not bothered making. Oh, he's really angry. Lovely clean carp. Definitely say it's one of the younger fish. Not playing ball. But yeah, really happy that the effort's paid off. There's definitely fish out in the middle. It's the first time I've fished the middle and really felt like they are out there. So the rod's gone back out, a few more spoms of bait. Hopefully there's a chance of another one. One last look. What a result on the Halloween weekend. let's get him back. Well, I'm having my morning walk around. Reeled in a little bit earlier than I normally would, but felt like the chance was over. So I'm just making my way round now on this bank that I'm on, and it's quite evident that there's a few fish all along the bank. They're actually milling about on the surface, which is a bit strange to see this time of year, but shallow water, I guess they definitely behave a little bit differently. And yeah, I mean, it's the first time I've really seen fish in numbers on this bank for quite a while now. So I think I'm going to be staying put. I'm going to have a walk around and have a look elsewhere, but there was a lot of fish showing last night, as I said, with the fish. And this morning I've woken up and there's quite a few fish milling about quite close in, which that's what I'm struggling with. Is for the minute I've only been fishing with 2 rods in boy season. There's quite a big area of water in front of you there, and I feel like I'm maybe sort of, you know, missing out on an opportunity without that 3rd rod out there. So I'm a bit torn what to do with it really, because the fish are quite close in, but there's still a lot of weed out there. So I think I'm just going to flick a hinge out there on a long link, just as a bit of a gamble, and see what happens, because there's fish out there, and as I say, they're high up in the water. So even if it is only, you know, so far below the surface on top of the weed, I think there is a chance. So I just feel like I'm putting a little bit more effort in with that 3rd rod then, and trying to create another opportunity. So yeah, nice to be seeing them. I mean, the conditions are unbelievable. It's so warm. The breeze trickling in feels amazing. We had a load of rain come in after I put that fish back, and yeah, I mean, I heard a few more. I've seen some shows around the lake, so they're well spread out, but I feel quite confident sort of in the areas I'm in. Gave them quite a bit of bait last night, so I'm going to top that up, and yeah, just make my way around and see what I can see. But yeah, really happy to have got one. As I say, that was a really rewarding capture last night. You know, making that effort to move, just for me confirmed, you know, the effort that I've made these last few weeks, getting to know the lake a lot more, getting to know the swims, and yeah, was a very rewarding capture. That sometimes they don't have to be big to give you a big reward. So yeah, gonna make my way around now, see what I can see, and yeah, fingers crossed we get a couple more, because it does feel and look really good. So I'll catch up with you a bit later. We have got another one. This time down the left hand margin. Just busted off. Had a really good battle actually. Took me all over down the edge. The boat's down here as well, where someone's left it here, and a bit of a job getting it round it and getting the net under it. But yeah, cracking little fish. 11.5 £. Not going to bother getting him up for the camera, just a couple of snaps. But yeah, nice to get one down there. Feels like a bonus fish really. Not hearing so many out in the middle, but we'll see what happens. It feels really good. There's the wind's picked up again and it's blowing into the swim. So yeah, fingers crossed, one of them rods out there. Trundle's off again. I moved another rod out into the middle out there. I found another area where a fish showed today. So yeah, hoping one of those rattles off soon. But yeah, for now, let's get this pretty little fella back. Right then, the trip's come to a close. Yeah, leaving a little bit earlier than I normally would. I've got plans today and we got rain coming in, so didn't fancy getting soaked. So yeah, nothing really happened. The weather's changed a little bit and it just didn't feel like it did the night before. I heard very little through the night. Obviously pinched that little one down the edge, which is a result. But yeah, it just didn't feel quite as on as it did the night before. Didn't really hear them around the lake either, so part of me thinks putting that 3rd rod out in the middle, that extra disturbance, a few more spoms, maybe just put them on guard and push them back a little bit. So yeah, one of them things. I've just gone out in the boat, put a bucket of bait out, and there was still bait on the spot that I had the common from. So yeah, one of them things. Yeah, really felt confident of another chance out there, but yeah, maybe I shot myself in the foot by putting another rod out, but lesson learned. Still finding spots going out in the boat, which is really interesting. I think it's easy to just go out in the boat in an area and think that you've cracked it then, and you know all the spots out there, but the visibility is different every time. The weed's breaking down, and you can find out so much more with each time out in the boat. So I'm going to keep trying to do that. And yeah, so obviously I'm chuffed to bits to have had a couple of fish. I mean, normally by this time of year you're starting to scratch for bites, but this has probably been my most consistent autumn. To keep coming back week after week and getting bites, I couldn't ask for more than that. A little bit disappointed with the size of fish that I've had this weekend, which I know sounds a little bit greedy, but of late pretty much all the fish that have been coming out have been the bigger, older fish, but that's fishing for you. One of the big ones did come out this weekend, crater out of middles, which is one of those things, you know, I'm not going to get in the same swim all the time. It can be a little bit frustrating when you're sort of consistently fishing an area and baiting, but as I've said, it is a very popular swim, so I knew the chances of getting in there on a real regular basis was slim. So yeah, a really good trip. I've really enjoyed it. It's been so mild, so yeah, it's been a good one. I'm not back next weekend. One of my socials, the date has changed on it, and to be honest, it might be a blessing in disguise because it is the start of the winter syndicate next weekend, so I think it will be quite busy. So I'll be back the weekend after that, and then we'll see from there. You know, it, like I say, there might be a few really keen lads on the winter syndicate, and it might just feel like it's not really worth it. But a couple more trips, we'll see how things go. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back already, and I'll catch up with you then. Right, it is the first weekend of November. I said that I wouldn't be here, but my trip fell through, so I made the most of the opportunity and I've got back down to Northey. But as I said, it's the first weekend of the winter syndicate, so I knew the lake was going to be quite busy, and it is. I've got down in the dark, so I got here about 6:15, and I was quite deflated when I see a few cars on my arrival, but I made my way round and Boise's was free. I couldn't believe it, so I've rushed back to the van and got my kit because I knew there was very little other choices around the lake, and obviously I'd put some bait out in the swim from my last trip, so got sorted. And it's quite a lot colder than last week. We've had a big temperature drop, but for whatever reason I decided to put the same amount of bait out that I did on my last trip, which was quite a lot of bait. And by the time I've had my dinner and whatever, I've gone to bed quite late, and I've literally just dozed off and the rod was away. And we've got one, a scaly big linear. I'm not sure what fish it is yet, but yeah, absolutely gobsmacked, to be totally honest. So yeah, I just feel so confident at the minute, and I just feel like the ball is rolling and I've just got to keep going with it. So I've just got the rod back out there, a little bit more bait, and yeah, going to get sorted now and get the fish out. So yeah, what a result. I can't believe it, to be honest. So yeah, absolutely buzzing, and what a start to November. Right then, here is our November prize. So I worked out what fish it is. It's not as big as I thought it looked, but it is one of the old ones. It's a fish known as Bonnie, and interestingly enough, I actually see this fish in the margins of this swim quite a few weeks ago now. Funny looking carp, a beautiful one, very long fish, very scaly. Unfortunately suffered a bit of mouth damage, which has kind of spoiled her really, but still an amazing carp and a massive result. Hopefully she plays ball. Look at that. A very long fish. Real character actually. Funny dorsal with a split in the centre. Tiny little tail. And then obviously, like I say, that huge sort of mouth, which unfortunately is a result of some damage. But yeah, what a night. Big moon up there. Very, very still night. I've heard very little out there, but yeah, this one was obviously up for a feed, so yeah, absolutely made up. So yeah, to just keep coming back week after week catching them is unbelievable. I really didn't think I'd be getting action as consistently as this. Yeah, what a wicked old carp. Another one ticked off the list. Yeah, my confidence is just growing and growing, so yeah, a few snaps and get her back. What a buzz. Awesome. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to move. So middles has become free, and this morning it just didn't feel like there was a lot going on. And obviously arriving in the dark last night, I wasn't so aware of what was going on around me. As I mentioned, there was a guy to my right, so he's got 3 lines out into the middle. There's a guy opposite, and just to be honest, I'm amazed I caught one. So, but a lot of the reason I want to move is because when I've done 2 nights in Boise's, a lot of the time the second night hasn't paid off, whether I've caught one. Last week I did catch one both nights, but that was off 2 different spots. And the other reason is the big fish, or the big one in here, the majority of its captures seem to come from this side of the lake. And I know that it got caught around this time of year last year on this side of the lake. So I'm certain that middles is where that fish is going to come from when it comes out again, because I think it's going to get caught any day. So I've got to go with that. So yeah, it's a funny morning. We've got quite a cold wind pushing into me, and it doesn't feel that comfortable over there. And middles is much more sheltered on the back of the wind. And although someone's been fishing in there, I'm not sure how he got on. I just feel like it's worth the gamble. So hopefully the rain stays away. I'm going to go and get the kit packed up, make my way round, but I'm going to leave the rods in all day. I'm just going to bait the spots, clip the rods up, and then I'm going to put them out on dark. So leave some lines out the water for the day, and yeah, hopefully some fish will creep into there. So yeah, go and get sorted now and get round. So yeah, all go this morning. Well, it's looking pretty bleak out there this morning. Had a pretty wild night with all the fireworks going off left, right and centre. Birds were spooking all around the lake. There's a huge fire behind me. And yeah, it's just feels very quiet this morning. So unless anything happens in the next hour or so, I reckon the move hasn't paid off. But sometimes you've got to take these gambles, especially when it comes to targeting certain fish. You know, you might not catch loads, but it could all pay off and you get the one you want. So yeah, not to be, I don't think, but gonna pack down now. Obviously made up to have had another one. It's just, yeah, unbelievable to keep catching them. So yeah, I've just got to keep rolling with that confidence, and I'm back the next 2 weeks now. So, and then after there, I'm not sure when I'll be back, but yeah, really good trip, and I'll catch up with you on the next one. Good morning. It's Saturday morning and I'm currently sat in Elliott's. So first night I fished this swim, got down about 6:30 last night, and I was surprised to see it was actually quieter than I thought. There was only 3 guys on. I thought there was going to be 5, 6 like last week. But unfortunately of those 3, they were probably the 3 areas that I'd have liked to have fished. So someone in Middle, someone in Boise's and someone in Andy's. So I was quite torn. It took me quite a long time to make a decision, but I settled on Elliott's, and I basically just flicked 3 bags in zones that I knew were fairly clear out there, and felt really restless all night. I just knew it weren't the one. Sometimes you just know in fishing when you're doing what you need to be doing, and I just didn't feel like that. In an ideal world, I probably should have had chods on or something like that, where I knew I was more presented, but as I've said in the past, you know, this just isn't an area that I feel hugely confident in. So Middles is now free again, so I'm just having my first coffee of the day and I will be moving. So not really seen a lot in the night. The wind is blowing across the lake, so if anything was showing in the middle, sort of Boise's way, I think I would have struggled to have heard it. So yeah, I've got to take the gamble and move into middles again. I just, as I've said, I feel that big one could come from there. But what I am going to do is I'm just going to move my kit in the swim, because I didn't realise the swim was actually free. So the guy may have left yesterday evening. I don't know. There was somebody there when I turned up, but he's not there now. I'm going to drop my kit in the swim and I'm going to go around the lake leading today, because, as I say, the lake's pretty quiet and there's a few swims that I still haven't got. You know, I've gone out in the boating, but I haven't cast in and I haven't got the clips. So something to think of this time of year. A lot of the action is through the night, so you get a lot of static time in the day. And if the lake's free, you know, getting some of that prep work in, ready for the spring, or if you end up in those swims, is all worth it in my eyes. So even if nothing happens this weekend, if I've got a few swims all marked up in my book, then I'm happy with that. So yeah, gonna have this coffee and get on the move. So I'll catch up with you in a little while. It's been a funny trip, this one, and it's looking like it is going to be a blank. So that will be my first blank trip since August. So I never thought I'd get the consistency of action that I've had. It's been amazing these few weeks. So yeah, the lake's definitely starting to slow down. Despite this mild weather, it's just feeling quieter. The activity is a little bit lessened. I'm not seeing fish as much. And yesterday, walking round, I mean, it's been a funny trip in the sense of turned up in the dark Friday, fished Elliott's, a swim I've not fished before, so I wasn't exactly filled with confidence. Moved as soon as I could, gone into middles because I just felt, you know, a swim I'm so confident in. But I do think this area has had its time now, probably until next year. It's been fished really hard this year. A lot of fish have come out of here, and it's still seeing a lot of pressure, but the action isn't following. So I'm still seeing the odd fish out here, so I know they're still getting in here, but yeah, it just doesn't feel as on in this area as it was. Walked around yesterday. I did find a few fish, but they were sort of in corners and bits where I've not been seeing them, which just makes me feel they're maybe trying to duck away from the pressure a little bit. As I said, with the winter syndicate, there's definitely been a few more guys here fishing, a bit more use of the boat, I guess, probably a bit more bait going in, and just more pressure that they haven't really been seeing. So yeah, session's come to a close. Got trashed by the swans this morning. I've got 2 rods out of action, so I've got the one sort of banker rod left in the water, and I've seen a couple of fish sort of out towards the channel, so you never know, it might go, but I haven't got particularly high hopes. So I'm going to finish this coffee and get wrapped up and get home. So one more trip next week, and then that will be the end of the autumn journal, and probably be the end of my fishing on Northey until I reckon next February. I'm quite keen to get back as soon as we start getting those sunny February days and the first big winds. I think these fish will start waking up, so I want to be ahead of the game and get here, you know, before others do. So yeah, I'm really excited for next year. I'm going to hit it hard. Part of me feels gutted I missed the summer based on what I've caught this autumn. I feel like I could have really got amongst them over the summer, but yeah, as I say, all in preparation for next year. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of fishing over here next year, and hopefully ticking off those ones I want. So yeah, I'll catch up with you next week. Just gone out there, and the big un was loitering around the spot that I just got trashed from the swan. So a bit of a burn, because it makes you think what if, but definitely confirmed my thoughts, just on his own, like I thought. So yeah, a positive sign that's definitely spurred me on to keep going. Put some bait out, but I've not sort of concentrated it on one area. I've put in a few different zones now, because I know they're probably not smashing big quantities of bait now. So a couple of other little areas around the lake that I fancy if I can't get in here. And coming through the channel, I then see the cover common, which is the biggest common in the lake. That hasn't been out for over a year now, and that looks really good. I've seen it twice now in the last few weeks, and a little bit further into the middle I see another good common out there. So yeah, a really good, you know, half hour in the boat has given me a massive boost of motivation. So although it's misty and not ideal fishing conditions, it's flat calm, so the visibility was really good. Went out in front of Elliott's and just sort of confirmed for me the areas that I was fishing to maybe weren't the best places, and I've got a better idea next time I go in there. So yeah, really positive trip out in the boat, a little bit more bait out there, and yeah, definitely the motivation I needed after a pretty quiet trip. Yeah, going out in the boat's definitely made me excited to come back. I know they're still out there, they're still active, so yeah, just got to keep going and hope that a couple more play ball. Another weekend's drawing to a close, and it looks like it's going to be another blank trip. So got down Friday, and I actually got away from work a couple of hours earlier, which just made life so much easier. Got down and I couldn't believe it, Middles was free. Of course, based on what I see from the boat, I was always going to go in there if I could. And I've done 2 nights in here and nothing's really occurred. I see a fish in front on the Saturday morning. Reeled in, had a walk around, and I found some fish again in similar areas where I did last week, kind of in the areas they're not really fished for, all small fish. So yeah, I'm still finding fish, but obviously I'm going by what I see from the boat. In terms of if I felt like I wanted to get bites, I'd probably be in Boise's, but at the end of the day with target fishing, you've got to be where you think that target's going to come from. So yeah, I'm happy with my decision, and like I see from the boat, there wasn't many fish in front of Middles, so you just never know, you know, if you get the one you want, then you're a hero, aren't you? So but obviously that hasn't happened this weekend. The weather has changed quite a lot. It's definitely a lot chillier, so I think the front will be going on the brolly now. I'll be bringing a ground sheet, and we'll probably put my winter bag on now. So I've got next weekend, which will be the last trip of the autumn, and then I've got a couple of weekends planned in December, and then going into January I'll probably take the month off, have a bit of a recharge. And as I've said, I've got a couple of winter walks close to home, but I just don't really want to be there. You know, I've really got into Northey, and there's no point sitting at other waters when you want to be elsewhere. The key thing here is because of the boat, I can still be learning so much, and that all will come into play for next year, you know. So, you know, as long as I'm getting down learning with each trip, then I'm taking something from that regardless of the blanks. So yeah, already looking forward to getting back. So unless anything happens, I'll catch up with you then. Good morning, we are back in Middles, and it is the last weekend of November. So got down last night, it was dark and Middles was free to my surprise. So I've dropped in, had a walk round. There's 2 on the far side, but the lake did feel very quiet. Naturally I was going to go in Middles, you know, based on that sighting from the boat. I said to myself, you know, I'll give it up to this point as I'm not here next weekend, and then going into December I think I'll probably reevaluate and start looking in other areas. So that last trip I done, I headed out in the boat and I didn't see a single carp. I was probably in the boat for 2 hours, and it's the first trip I've done in the boat and not seen a fish. So things are definitely slowing down. The lake's come up quite a lot this week. It's evidently higher, which we're all thankful for. So hopefully the swans will leave me alone now. But it does feel really good. The rods went out lovely last night. I got lovely drops on all 3 of them. So I'm just sitting back. It feels really good. It is mild this weekend. It feels nice. So I've seen the odd sign out there, but I don't think a great deal of fish are visiting this area now. But I've just got to go on that sighting in the boat, and you know, that's the one we're all here for really. So yeah, fingers crossed, last roll of the dice in here, and then I think if nothing happens I'll be heading elsewhere. But I'm gonna sit out this morning, having a nice coffee now, and yeah, I think I'll be heading for a walk around. I mean, I will move if I see anything I think it's worth moving on. I'm baiting multiple spots around the lake, but one of those swims is taken, 2 others are free at the moment. But if I don't see any signs, then I don't think I'll be moving. So yeah, gonna enjoy this coffee, and then yeah, get the rods in and go and have a walk around. Really see the difference the water level's made. Pretty much everything's back underwater now. Looks so much better for it. Let's hope we get plenty more. Fills up ready for the spring. Well, the weekend's come to an end, and I think realistically this is going to be my last trip to Northey of the year. I said I'd do a couple of weekends in December, but nothing's occurred the last 3 trips now, and this is the first trip I've not seen any signs of fish. The weather's been great, it's really mild, but I've seen nothing. The lake feels quite lifeless, and for me, I'm not fussed about the blanks, but I have to be conscious of my energy levels, and I've fished really hard now these last 2 or 3 months. And the thing is, when you're travelling for your fishing, other things do take a hit, and I'm very conscious of that. So I feel like the batteries need a good recharge. I'm going to do a little bit of local angling. As I said, I've got a couple of waters close to home with good winter form. I always try and get as much work in as I can over the winter to build up ready for that time when I feel it's worth having some time off. So learned so much about the lake. I feel so ready, so hungry for next year. So realistically, I'm probably going to come back mid-February when we get those first winds and the sun starts to come out. I think these fish will get moving, so can't wait to get back already. I have to say a massive thank you. The channel's hit 1,000 subs, which I know for some people isn't a big deal, but for me that's a really proud feeling. So thank you so much for the support. This video is my longest video by a mile, so I hope you enjoy it. Please give me any feedback. I hope you've had a great autumn, and going into the winter, as I say, I'm going to do a little bit of fishing around close to home, but I'm probably not going to do loads, and I'll be heading back here February into March. So take care, and I'll catch up with you in the new year.